Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. I am Carol Williams with Williams Immigration, and we are back for another Monday morning edition of Beyond the Soundbite, where we talk about all things U.S. immigration. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is DHS and Congress still have not reached a funding agreement, so DHS is still in a state of being partially shut down. So they have this lack of funding agreement with Congress, and one of the things that it has impacted that you may have heard about on the news is airport operations. So TSA officers are now working without getting paid, and they are continuing to work because they are considered to be essential workers. I have read and heard some reports where these security lines are 3 to 5 hours long. I've also read reports where they're, like sort of their normal time. Maybe 30-ish minutes. So bring your patience. I always bring a snack with me as well. But you can also go online and just Google and check to see. You can check the actual airport. Usually, at least most of the airports that I fly out of have a TSA section to their airport, and it will tell you to their website, and it will tell you what their current timing is for TSA security lines. So you definitely want to check that before you head to the airport, but you also want to give yourself plenty of time to get to the airport. So hopefully we'll see a little bit of an ease in that situation. We'll see, but DHS is still doesn't have their funding, or funding agreement, I should say, from Congress. So that is just one of the things that we're seeing as a result of that. Department of State has a final rule, and they are looking to make some changes to the diversity visa program. One of the more significant changes is that an individual will need to have an unexpired passport and provide a scan of that unexpired passport when they enter the diversity visa lottery. They will also be replacing gender with the word sex, and they will be replacing age with date of birth in that registration form that is filled out online. So keep that in mind if you're thinking about and contemplating the diversity visa lottery and you don't have a valid passport. Now is the time to do something about that. The next thing I want to talk about is the H-1B lottery. It is in full swing. We are still able to enter people into the H-1B lottery for fiscal year 2027. That lottery closes this Thursday, March 19th at noon Eastern Standard Time. So 12 noon on Thursday, no more H-1B lottery applicants will be able to enter that lottery. So if you have not entered into the lottery and you wish to do so, you have until noon this week, March 19th, Eastern Standard Time. So make sure that you have that on your calendar if you have not already done so. And you will need a My USCIS account in order to get yourself into the lottery. The next thing I want to talk about is fairly new. Some of the stuff I talk about is sort of a continuation of things, but this is pretty new. So we've got CBP pre-clearance at a few airports outside of the U.S. And so CBP pre-clearance just went live at Billy Bishop Toronto City Airport up in Canada. So what does that mean? It means that folks that are traveling through Billy Bishop Toronto City Airport into the U.S. will clear U.S. immigration in the Billy Bishop Toronto City Airport, so that when they enter the U.S., when their plane lands in the U.S., instead of going to immigration once they get to wherever their U.S. destination is, they are considered to have already gone through immigration, and it is as if they are flying on a domestic flight. So they get off the plane and you go pick up your luggage and you walk out the door because you have already been admitted and inspected at the airport in Billy Bishop Toronto City Airport. So that just makes your arrival into the U.S. a whole lot easier. You do all the immigration stuff when you're technically still in Canada. So that is now live. Preclearance is now live at Billy Bishop Toronto City Airport. So that is something new. The next thing I have for y'all this morning it's from the Department of State, and it's about the consulates. So if you are applying for a non-immigrant visa, you know at this point that you've got to go online, you've got to fill out your DS 160, then you've got to schedule your actual interview appointment. Department of State has a system that is in some but not all of their consulates and sort of the processing, and it's called Atlas. It is it's a very regimented system, and so two of the things that you should really know about Atlas are it is a very strict one passport per profile system. So you cannot use the same passport for different people or different profiles. This generally comes up if someone is trying to schedule an appointment for a minor and they're trying to use their parents' passport. Atlas does not let you do that. The child must travel on their own passport. So there's really a very strict one passport, one profile rule. And Atlas only allows you to reschedule one time under the same fee. So you can reschedule 1,000 times if you want, but you're going to wind up paying each and every time, right? So it's only going to let you do that rescheduling one time. So it is encouraged that you really take a look at your calendar, especially if you do a lot of travel for work. I recommend that you coordinate, if you are an employer, that you coordinate with your employees when they are looking to book visa appointments so that work is interrupted as little as possible. Now, of course, things happen. Of course, visa appointments need to be rescheduled. Life happens, but just know that if you're scheduling using the Atlas system, and it's a global appointment system, so if you're using that Atlas system, it's only going to let you reschedule once under the same fee. So when you start that third reschedule, that fourth reschedule, they're going to require new fees. The next thing we're talking about is the 75 country travel ban. So that's our latest travel ban. But here's the deal with this travel ban. It is for individuals that are outside of the US who are applying for green cards. So it limits green card processing at US consulates. However, you can still file your applications. You can still start your applications. If you are scheduled for an interview at a consulate, you should absolutely go to this interview. What the ban does essentially is it prevents the officer at the consulate from making a final decision on your case. But at some point the ban will be lifted, and the officer can then get the file back, relook at it, and then hopefully process it fairly quickly at that point. So you can still file your green card application. You can still start that application. It will wind its way through the system like it normally does. It will full stop, once it gets to the consulate. But again, if you are scheduled for an interview, you should absolutely go to that interview, because at some point this pause will end. So just keep that in mind. So if you were thinking about starting your green card process and you're outside of the US, continue forward with it if you qualify. It's a pause. But I just I've fielded some questions from individuals that have indicated that they couldn't file, and that is not the case. You can absolutely file. And the last thing I want to talk about this morning is premium processing. So for a very long time, premium processing was counted by calendar days. And so now, for a while, frankly, the change was made a while ago that it is now business days. So that's a huge difference, because calendar days includes the weekends. Business days does not. Business days is Monday through Friday, not including federal holidays. So for most of the cases that are filed, premium processing is 15 business days, which roughly winds up being 3 weeks. So when you are thinking about premium processing, especially for your cases that are going to take 15 days. One, remember that it's 15 business days. And so that really winds up roughly being about 3 weeks. So just kind of build that into your internal thinking and your internal timeline when you're thinking about the case, when you're thinking about work authorization, when you're thinking about how quickly can I get a specific employee on board. I've had one or two people last week call me and say, and we've had this conversation, and I asked if it was business days or calendar days. So I figured if one or two people had the question, I figured more people didn't. I would address it this morning. So that is all I have for y'all this Monday morning. Have a great rest of your day and a beautiful rest of your week. And if you need help with anything with your immigration case, feel free to reach out. We are happy to help.